Okay, let's dive into one of the wildest, most bizarre stories from the peak of the dot-com boom. What if an entire town just sold its name to a website? Well, today we're unpacking how a tiny town in Oregon did exactly that, becoming a corporation for a year in a deal that, believe me, made headlines all over the world.
We ask that question all the time, right? What's in a name? Is it just some label we use, or is it something deeper? Our identity, our history, that feeling of community.
Well, for one small town in Oregon, the answer turned out to be shockingly specific. Their name was worth exactly $75,000, a few computers, and a very, very bright but brief moment in the global spotlight. The real question is, how on earth did this even happen?
Well, it all kicked off with a really unlikely partnership. And this wasn't some merger between equals, not at all. It was more like a collision of two completely different worlds. A small, struggling town just trying to get by, and an ambitious startup that had everything to prove.
I mean, the contrast here is just night and day. On one side, you have halfway Oregon. The economy's in decline, the population is shrinking, their main goal was just survival. And on the other side, you've got Half.com, a classic dot-com startup, valuations skyrocketing, and their only goal was to get famous and fast.
So this desperation on one side and this, massive ambition on the other, it led to something that was truly unprecedented. Just let that sink in for a second. This wasn't just some clever marketing gimmick. It was the first time in the history of the United States that a town officially agreed to sell its very name to a for-profit company. Just a wild moment.
So, what did this historic deal actually look like? Okay, first, the town officially becomes Half.com Oregon for one full year. In return, they got a package deal. It started with $75,000 in cash, plus 10 new computers for the local school. But the real kicker, the thing that probably sealed the deal, was the last step: free internet for every single resident for a year. Back in 1999, that was like giving the entire town a superpower.
Which brings us to the boom and, well, the inevitable bust. Once that deal was signed, things started moving incredibly fast, both on the way up and, as you can probably guess, on the way down.
It was a total whirlwind of a year. The deal got struck in December '99, and on New Year's Day 2000, poof, Halfway was officially Half.com. And what came next was a total media frenzy from all over the world. But just as fast as it started, it was over. By 2001, the dot-com bubble had burst, the company got shut down by its new owner, eBay, and the town just quietly went back to being halfway again.
So, for the company, was it worth it? Oh, you better believe it. This stunt generated over $1 million in free marketing. For a fraction of that price, they got their name plastered on news outlets all across the globe. I mean, what an incredible return on investment.
And what about the town? Well, for that one year, it actually worked. Local shops and businesses saw this huge spike in sales from all the media and tourist attention. The boost was totally real. But as soon as the cameras packed up and that bubble burst, sales went right back down to where they were. So while it was nice, it was definitely temporary.
So what's the lasting legacy of all this? The story of Half.com Oregon isn't just some quirky little footnote in internet history. It's really a story about the price of a name and what it tells us about the world we're all living in right now.
Because here's the thing, this absolutely bizarre deal wasn't just a one-off stunt. In so many ways, it was a preview of the world we're in today. A world where that line between public space and private branding is, well, blurrier than ever.
I mean, just think about it. We see the echoes of Half.com Oregon everywhere. From corporate names on stadiums like the Crypto.com Arena to sponsored city landmarks. The whole idea basically foreshadowed the rise of influencer marketing and this huge trend of just monetizing public and civic identity.
At its core, this whole story is about putting a price tag on something we don't normally think of as for sale: civic identity. That shared sense of who a community is, right? Its history, its character, its sense of belonging. Half.com basically said, yeah, we'll buy that.
Which really leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. The story of this one small town in Oregon, more than 2 decades ago, it forces us to ask a very modern question. In our world of constant branding and monetization, how much of our shared identity is actually for sale?